All right, we are back. What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Of course, your guys, Cody and Derek, back for another one, guys. And I've already done my mock draft 1.0, but we have not yet seen Derek do his mock draft 1.0. So we are going to jump into this one, man. And there's a lot of options for the Indianapolis Colts here, Derek, to make. So you're going to be sitting in the GM chair right now. You are Chris Ballard here, choosing the Colts picks here. And I think for the sake of this one, just because this is what we did in the first one, we're not going to do any trades on this one particularly. I'm sure we'll have some in the future that will do some trades, trade up, trade down scenarios, all that good stuff. But just for the 1.0, just want to start it off right there at pick 14 for Indianapolis and go from there. So, Derek, without further ado, man, take it away.
Yep, no doubt. 1.0. It's the first one, guys, so give me some slack. It is obviously before the combine, before pro days, before, free agency, all this stuff that goes on, right? So give me some slack, but we'll go with it here. Have this simulating right now to pick number 14 and some of the best players that we have currently available. So we have Mykel Williams, Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker, and Malachi Starks available at that spot.
That's a dream scenario right there.
That is. And there's one guy, Will Johnson's available here as well, but I know there's no way that Will Johnson's gonna fall to 14.
I never know.
But I'm very tempted, Cody, one way or the other here. I know which pick Colts fans are wanting me to go with.
It might actually be a little bit more split than you think, to be honest with you.
I am going to be that guy. I am going to draft Malachi Starks at 14, not Tyler Warren, because I like this tight end group, and I think that there is another one available in this second round that I am willing to take a chance on and at a better spot than what we currently have. And at number 45, I'm going to take our tight end, and it's the tight end that I have had up there with the likes of Tyler Warren, and I like Harold Fannin Jr. at 45 for the Indianapolis Colts. So, Cody, you go safety first, you get your defensive backfield some help for your new DC, and then you get a tight end to help with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, and least surprising pick you've ever made in your life right there when it comes to – I knew you were going to go for him if he was available. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd be too shocked, honestly, if the Colts took Malachi Starks or some sort of DB ahead of Tyler Warren because of the fact, Derek, that the Colts have very much emphasized – obviously the DBs. And we saw them, they've been interested in another DB coach, another guy to help out with the DB from the Giants. So it's very obvious, Derek, from the guys they brought in from a defensive coordinator standpoint, the guys that they brought in to help with the defensive backs, there's a huge emphasis that's going to be placed here on acquiring some of these guys. And obviously, Derek, it's pre-anything. So, if the Indianapolis Colts say, for example, they sign a Javon Holland or somebody like that, then maybe safety's not even up there. But right now, obviously, it's one of the top, if not the top needs on this team. So I would not be shocked at all if the Indianapolis Colts went that direction. But, Derek, I honestly think, and I know obviously for the sake of this video, we're going to stay here at 14. I think if that's a scenario, you might, unless like Malachi Starks is like here and everybody else is like here, I think it's a scenario where you could potentially trade down and still get a very good player if you like all these players on a pretty similar sort of thing, because there's still a few other safeties here that could go a little bit later in the first round, a couple tight ends as well. So there's a lot of options here for the Indianapolis Colts. But yeah, for the sake of this one, Malachi Starks is a good pick for the Colts. I think that would make a ton of sense for them to go get their guy here and not have to really worry about the free safety position moving forward. And that's probably the biggest need right now because the cupboard's bare right now. There's nobody on your roster currently under contract that is worth anything for your free safety position. So absolutely don't hate that one. And then Harold Fannin, yeah, he's a little bit undersized, but the production speaks for itself. Like you said, even against really good schools. It's not just against, MAC competition sort of thing. It's good schools that he's putting up these huge numbers against. So, yeah, absolutely would be good with that. And he's not just a tight end. He strikes me as a guy that's a weapon. You can put him a little bit everywhere. Everybody ragged on Brock Bowers a year ago because of his undersized nature, but nobody's looking at that now and saying, man, he's too undersized because he was productive. And so, yeah, I'm good with that, man. Totally good with that. I think that makes a ton of sense for the Colts, their first 2 picks, addressing the biggest needs on both sides of the ball currently as it stands right now.
Yep. So now you go to pick number 80, third round pick here. And this one gets a little tricky for me, Cody, because I bounce back and forth with what the Indianapolis Colts would think about doing at this particular spot. It really is going to come down to, is there going to be a couple guys that slip back into this kind of spot, So I'm very curious. I don't think we go edge because, like I said, at the top of this edge class, there's a lot of good players. Outside of that, nothing crazy. I'm bouncing back and forth between cornerback and running back because there's a lot of good corners in this draft class, and there's a lot of good running backs, I feel like, that are good mid-round draftable guys that are going to make a difference either way.
Yeah, I guess it comes down
or
to
even linebacker.
Yeah,
Even
I mean that's also an option. I think for the corner running back debate, I guess it really comes down to, do you think the Colts are going to address cornerback or running back more in free agency, right? Because I do think there is some guys in that corner room that have some things to build off of. Now, obviously, I think you need to get a number 1 corner. You need to address it in some way, but I don't think I would say even like running back, like that's outside of Jonathan Taylor. I mean, you don't have a clear-cut running back number 2. So I guess that's kind of what you got to weigh is like, do you believe that this class, also this running back class versus this cornerback class, which do you believe is deeper? That's another factor you got to factor in, because is there a guy who could get in the 4th round at running back or corner that you believe makes sense? So, and linebacker, like you said, I mean, that is an option here. And depending what the Colts do in free agency, I mean, we've seen guys they found, 3rd round and later that have turned into some pretty good players for them. So,
no doubt.
I'd be
And I
good
mean,
with
I'm even looking just at like the running backs still available. I'm not going to say Caleb Johnson will be available at this spot. I really think Caleb Johnson is amongst the top when it comes to the running backs. I don't think he'll be available at 80. But I look at running back and I think, what are the Indianapolis Colts looking to do with that second running back? They want to have a guy that, can play out of the backfield. They want to have a guy that can be a pass blocker, also be able to run the rock if need be. I'm going to go with the one I've picked this guy before. Like I said, there's a lot of different options I could go with this, but I'm going to go with the one that I think speaks Indianapolis Colt to me, and that is Cameron Scottibo at number 80. I think Cameron, running back out of Arizona State, we saw what he did in the playoffs, playing against that elite level competition. He's a tough-nosed guy. He's, almost 6 foot, 220 pounds. He's a bruiser, and he's a guy that can also catch the ball out of the backfield. And I think that's a guy that you want to have on your team. As we said, guys, today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Now, what is Prize Picks? Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Instead of battling against thousands of other players across platforms, you're basically picking 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're choosing more or less on those stat projections to be able to watch those winnings roll in. It's very easy. Do you guys want to play along at some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and UFC fighter Sugar Sean O'Malley? Well, if you guys sign up today, you can find the community plays under the promos tab of the app to view the entries of some of the biggest names on the platform and be a part of that as well. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 just like that with NBA, NHL, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Like a lot of other things, guys, they also offer injury insurance, so your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So if someone exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player projection won't count against you and the rest of your entry stays live. So it's great bounce back for that one. What I love about the app as well, guys, is it's not just sports like NBA, NHL, football, and tennis, and baseball, and all these other things, but there's also a lot of others that go into it as well. If you like to place entries on video game situations like Call of Duty, CS2, Apex, if that's something that appeals to you, there's a wide variety of sports and video games and everything else that you can place entries on. And I love how expansive it is. Even just looking at the NBA, there's entries you can make with turnovers, with points. You can do combo deals, dunks, field goals attempted, all of these different things. So there's just so many different ways to make money off of these entries. Be sure to download the app today and use the code JUICE to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup.
Well, I guess, yeah, kind of the debate of like what type of running back I would think similar to Zach Moss, because I feel like you found, that one cut type of back. Like you found some success running both him and JT alongside each other. And it helps if he can catch out of the backfield, do some things on third down so JT doesn't have to be out there. That would make a ton of sense there as well. So I'm good with that, man. I'm good with addressing a running back that has some size on him, has some toughness on him, and also has some ability out of the backfield as well on third down and things like that. So, yeah, totally good with that.
At 116, so I'm assuming that this guy could potentially fall, Cody. I think that a couple GMs are going to pass on this guy because they're going to overthink it. I am going to go with cornerback here at 116. And like I said, there's a lot of guys that are going to be in that 70 to 150 frame that are going to get roles that could potentially start in the NFL at some point. This is a very deep corner group. And I think this is a guy that could end up dropping. And I'm going to take him here. It's Denzel Burke, cornerback out of Ohio State at 116. I think that the reason I think he drops, Cody, is because there have been times where he has had issues with his game. There have been some games where like he's been torched, like that first game against Oregon, that Ohio State defense, but especially Denzel Burke, was torched in that game. There's been a few times where you're like, I just don't understand what he's doing. But then you look back to his freshman season and you even look back to this year when the defense started to figure it out. He looked like a first round draft pick at times. So, and he's got great ball skills. He's aggressive. I think that could be a great depth piece for Indy in the mid rounds.
You had to get your Buckeye. You had to add him at some point.
I had to get one, dude. I just had to get one.
But I mean, corner would make sense there at round 4, especially like you said. This class is very deep, right? So I think you could interchange corner, honestly, corner and running back in 3rd and 4th round pretty easily, right? But yeah, I would be totally fine. Now you've addressed 2 DB positions in the first 4 rounds. That makes a lot of sense for the Colts, in addition to, I think, maybe a move or 2 in the secondary and free agency. And that's what you would call kind of an overhaul in certain ways. Maybe more of a retooling than anything. Maybe not a complete overhaul, because I do think you're going to keep a few guys. I think you have probably, 3 starters you're going to keep for sure. And then you have potentially 2 other starting spots and some depth that you need here. So, yeah, totally makes a lot of sense there.
All right. Well, we're going to stick with the defense here, Cody. We're going to go ahead and go to linebacker. And I see a name here that I think a lot of people will really like if he is still available at 152. And that is Lander Barton linebacker out of Utah. I think that that's a really good one. And, we need the linebacker help. And I've heard good things about Barton in coverage as well. So I'm down to take a chance on another linebacker.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right, so a lot of defense so far.
Yep.
Awesome.
Let's see here.
Sixth round here.
Let's look for some offensive linemen here.
Offense or defensive line? He's got to get.
I'm looking at offensive line.
I would say Ballard has to at least get one of his lines in at least once or twice every draft.
Oh yeah, Ballard would never go a draft without getting.
Man, the more I think about it, this is totally off topic. Last year was literally the trenches draft for the Colts.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, it was, and no doubt that Ballard will continue to try and fill that role if he can. I don't think Jake Majors makes it to 191. I really don't think he will. I think he would go, if he had to get one offensive lineman, I feel like it would have to be tackle. I'm going to go with Jack Nelson at tackle. I've had him in some of my drafts before. Wisconsin guy. You've never had issues with a Wisconsin lineman that you've brought to Indy. So I'll take a chance on that.
Hey, bring in his teammate. Bring in Bordelon, his teammate. Why not?
Absolutely.
Cool. Round 7.
And now we're going best player available.
Dude, it almost feels inevitable it's going to be a DB. I feel like Ballard does that about every year. It's a DB in round 7.
You know what? I have to do it.
Got to.
I have to at 234. I have to get the same guy that I always want to get, and I'm getting Ty Hamilton.
Okay.
Getting Ty Hamilton at my last pick every single time, dude. Every single time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if he'll make it to the 7th round, to be honest with you. I think he's got some great skill sets. The production's never really matched because, he's kind of been in the mix with Jack Sawyer, JTT, and Tyleek Williams. So, it's kind of been a mix back and forth. But, yeah, I mean, it's not too bad, though.
Cool. So, recap here. I think that was your last pick. So,
yep.
Recap
my last pick, no trades, no nothing. We're just going strictly what we had. So, Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, is our first round pick. I drafted him over Tyler Warren in this scenario. Second round pick, number 45, was Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end out of Bowling Green State University. Talons up. And then number 80, the third round pick, Cameron Scotabo, running back out of Arizona State. 116, you had cornerback Denzel Burke from the Ohio State University. 152, you had Lander Barton, the linebacker out of Utah. 191, you took Jack Nelson, tackle at Wisconsin. And then at 234, rounding it out, was Ty Hamilton, defensive lineman from the Ohio State University. And that is my mock draft 1.0. What'd you think, Cody?
Definitely some needs filled there. Talking about, going double dipping at DB in the first 4 rounds. That sounds like what the Colts might do. That makes a lot of sense from the directions they have taken to already with the coaching staff. Make a big emphasis on that. I like the fact that you still got your tight end. I think that's a major need. Obviously, we need to get somebody who has that production, because Colts have drafted some guys based off of, in the past, like Jelani Woods. He's got a lot of talent. He's got the physical tools, but maybe the production wasn't always there. And in his case, the durability. And I just think it makes a lot of sense for the Indianapolis Colts to go get a guy that's proven. While he may not be the, 6'7" type of tight end, he's still very, very, very productive. And that would make a ton of sense here. If you're not going to get Tyler Warren, if you're going to go in favor of another safety there in round 1, I think, finding a guy like Harold Fannin in round 2 would make a ton of sense. So I'm good with that, man. I'm good with addressing linebacker. I'm good with addressing running back. I think those are the type of players that you need on your roster to complement what's already on it and in those groups. So, yeah, I'm totally good, man, with how this one kind of went in. And really in those 6th, 7th rounds, you got to just throw it at the dartboard and go off of basically traits at that point, which
right.
That's kind of what Ballard's done. So that makes some sense there to just go after some trait guys who maybe the production never lived up, but you're like, maybe we could get something out of them, if we just put them in our system or whatever.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. How do you feel about my mock draft? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know what you guys think. But thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Greatly appreciate all the support. And as always, guys, go Colts.